Hey everybody, welcome to FabFit Friday, and I'm starting part two, of the wedding gown or wedding dress sew-along, and I'm going to be sharing with you how to prepare a pattern after you've draped it onto your dress form and then traced it onto paper pattern. Pattern paper. So if you missed that, I put a link in the description below to my cool tools I did earlier this week where I shared some really cool rulers. And I have, one of the rulers right here. I love this ruler. Oh, it's hard to see because it's clear. But basically, this is a half scale French curve that I use to, true up my pieces. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. The other thing I'm very excited about is I finally booked my flight to Australia, and I'm going to travel business class because I can't sit in a seat for 24 hours. I would be dead. My legs would make me want to, I don't know, something terrible. My legs get really crabby on long flights. So I've got that piece squared away. I'm super excited. It seems like it's one step closer to actually going to Australia, which is very exciting. And if you don't know, or if you haven't heard, I'm going to be teaching at the National Australian Sewing Guild in February, their conference, and I'm super excited about that. I also was working on my 25 T flags for the hospice, Middlesex Health Hospice Golf Tournament fundraiser, which is going to be on September 9th, and I needed to get these flags finished so they can get to the golf course and they can plan and put them where they need to put them and all the other things. Sponsors needed to donate $1,500 to get a sponsor flag, and I'm not really sure if people who if the sponsors on this list know about J. Stern Designs or watch J. Stern Designs, but I do want to say that there are 25 people or companies who have donated money, and I just want to take a minute to thank them and just mention them because this is a near and dear project for me because my mom benefited directly from Middlesex Health Hospice Care, and it was amazing, and it was very comforting for our whole family to have my mom, be in that kind of care. So I just want to mention, now these are local businesses to Connecticut and probably closer to the middle of Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut, or the golf tournaments in Portland. So we have Bill's Auto Repair and Tire, Liberty Bank, Portland Golf Course, the Gilbert and Lynch families, David, Terry, George, and Jennifer Gilbert. I crossed out things and I can't read through my own crossing out here. Atlantic Wealth Advisors, Mackup Plumbing and Heating, Conklin Service Corp, Doolittle Funeral Services, Ion Bank, McGee Company, Environmental Group Inc., Exchange Club of Portland. My dad and my brother, both are sponsors. Martin Moving and Storage, Carl and Debbie Johnson, Cromwell Concrete Products, Gladville Rehabilitation and Healthcare Center, Global Medical Products, Jarvis Products Corp., King Risk Partners, Ram Radiology, SimTree, Deborah Logano, and my brother's thing is Walt the Land LLC. So basically, those are the companies and people who are sponsoring the golf tournament, and those are the people who are going to be getting these flags. And I just want to share with you the flag that I made for my mother. It did give me a little bit of a cry fest because my dad wanted me to add a saying or a thought about Alzheimer's. So I'm going to show this to you. Hey Victoria, welcome. I am having a great day. I am super excited that I'm finished with my golf flag project. So let's take a look at this. This is the flag that I designed for my mom, and it says Alzheimer's disease destroys the mind but not the soul. And my sister, who is a reading specialist in high school, explained to me that if I have a comma over here, I should have a period over here. I may or may not have time to add the punctuation, but basically, this is what the flags look like. All the sponsors are in green. This is the logo of the tournament, and I added this special message that my dad wanted me to add to my mom's flag. So it's going to be a really sweet day. And I want to talk about another thing. I was really annoyed with the amount of wrinkles I have. You can see there are wrinkles in this one as well. I used a sticky tearaway. Okay, so it's got a backing. You peel the backing off, and then it's got a sticky tearaway. And then in addition to that, I used this Material Magic. I soaked the area I was going to embroider. On the front, ironed it dry. On the back, ironed it dry. And then I did the front one more time. So I did 3 applications of this, and it really significantly helped with the wrinkles. I feel like this yucky nylon fabric that these tea flags are made out of is very hard to embroider. Plus, we've got the little pole, or the little tube that the tea pole goes into here, so I can't hoop it. So basically, this is what my mom looks like. I embroidered hers last, and I am all done. So anyway, I'm going to put this aside, and we're going to look at this. Okay, so now, this is what I did earlier in the week, and I think I can find in my mess here. I really have to clean my room because I've only got 45 million projects going on, plus a lot of random things. So these are the pieces that I draped. Okay, so here's my center back, my center front, my side front, okay, and my side back. Okay, so I basically traced these pieces onto this paper, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to true these up, add seam allowances. I'm going to cut them out and I'm going to sew them together because they are going to fit onto my, this is my ditto, my mini ditto form right here, and basically it's going to fit on here. You can see I drew on my ditto form, I used a pen and I drew in the princess style line that I wanted on half. All right, so that's what I draped, and the reason why I'm draping a princess seam is because I really want it to be fitted underneath the bust here, because this is going to be a strapless foundation that I'm going to ultimately be designing here. So basically now I'm going to just share with you how I'm going to true this up, and I used this mini half-scale French curve from Seams and Laser Beams. Here is their business card. They have a cute business card. Okay, so Seams and Laser Beams. I put a link to the Cool tool that I shared this ruler earlier this week. So if you want to give them some love, check out this tutorial, and you can go visit their website where you can buy these rulers, because they're very, very helpful for half scale, because the curves match the size, right? The proportion is correct for being able to use it. So that's why if you do a lot of half scale, this is really nice to have. Victoria said, your mom, I'm glad to be retired, but I do miss nursing and being with my mom. Oh, Victoria's like, my dog hit the send button. That's okay, Victoria. I get it. I get it. You're fine. All right, so let me just move these pieces, and what I'm going to do here is I think I'm going to make it a little less bright. Let me just change my make this a little less bright. I don't want people to be like shocked by the blaze of white paper here. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to just cut these in half, and just to make it, oh, I don't quite have an inch here. All right, well, just going to make a line here to cut it in half right here. That's a little bit close. I wanted to leave spaces for seam allowances, but I think that ship has sailed. But basically now, I'm just going to make this a reasonable size paper, first of all. And then I'm going to cut the pieces apart because I'm going to walk the seams to make sure they match. Because you know when you drape something and then you create paper pattern pieces, you know, things happen. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drape, and I'm going to walk the seams together. And the first thing I'm going to do is do the front. And what you're going to notice here, I'm going to get my fancy KDK bag out, which is freshly back from teaching in Iowa. Now, as you know, I never unpack this bag. So when I go to teach, I have everything I love. And also when I get home, I know where everything is. And what I'm looking for here is my favorite stiletto. I'm just going to put this over here. Okay, and I am going to start truing up at the full bust line that I drew on the pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to line up that horizontal balance line, okay, and I'm going to get this closer so we can see what I'm doing. Hold on 1 second. Be able to see. Oh, Victoria's saying, I was going to say I'm a retired RN and I do miss working with patients who had Alzheimer's and dementia in their families. Well, Victoria, I consider you an angel on earth because it takes a special person to be able to do that kind of job and not be struck with sadness. I don't know, it seems so heartbreaking to me. So you get a gold star and angel wings from me for that. That's amazing. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make sure I'm right on my horizontal balance line, and I'm basically going to walk this down like this. And when I get to the bottom, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my tracing wheel to just trace the hem like this and this edge like this, and that way I can, when I take it off, I can see that I am right there. So just for an example, here is the tracing is right here, so I can see that I am exactly correct right there. Then I'm going to go in the opposite direction, meaning I'm going to start right here, and again I'm walking it straight along the pen line that I drew. I know you probably can't see the pen line underneath the paper like I can on the video screen, on your computer screen, but just know that I'm walking this one for one. And when I get up here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to mark my shoulder and the edge like that. And now you can see I'm a little off here. So this is where the meetup is here, right here. Okay, so I'm a little short. So what I'm going to do is I am going to add, let's see, that's a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and add a 1/4 inch here. I'm going to do it in red just so I can keep track of what I'm doing. Okay, hang on 1 second. So I'm going to come up a 1/4 like this, and then I'm going to blend this back in through the neckline like this. So I'm basically adding this red little wedge right here. Okay, so these match. Okay, so it was here that the center front ended, so I just added this 1/4 inch on over here. Okay, so that takes care of those seams. Then, because it's real easy, I'm just going to do the side seams. Now, my full bust, just to show you here, the line I had across my bust does not agree with my upper back line on my ditto form. So just to show you, okay, just to show you, it's here, but then when I turn it, you can see that it's higher here, so it doesn't match. So I'm not going to worry about matching it up at the side seams. I'm just going to put this right at the top of my armhole, like this, and then I'm just going to make sure that these match, and I'm just going to again use my tracing wheel. Okay, so those basically match. So I've got this matches here, so my side seams are in agreement, and now I'm going to walk my center back and my side back. So we're going to do that next. So again, I'm going to put these right sides together. Now, if you're wondering why I'm starting in the middle of the seam versus starting at the top and going down, or going from the bottom up, this is the first thing I established when I draped these pieces. I pinned the fabric so it lined up with these lines. So I want to make sure everything above it is matching and everything below it is matching. So I'm just going to go ahead and walk this. And I'm getting down to here, and I think here we're matching. Okay, so down here, I mean, I think it might be a pen thickness, just this tiny little bit right there that I'm going to add. That tiny little, 1/16 of an inch right there. And then we're going to go up to the top. So again, I'm going to walk this okay, and I believe this one is going to be longer. Okay, so in the back, I have to extend the side front a little bit. So I'm just going to come up like this, and then I'm going to do this. And I'm adding this little red wedge right here. Okay, so now I've trued up the pieces. All right, so I've got that going on. The next thing I'm going to do, now that I've trued up the pieces, is I'm going to add seam allowance, and I'm going to add, well, no, actually, before I add seam allowance, I'm going to put the back aside for a second, and we're going to come in here. Now, I have checked, oh, and actually, this is interesting because this was shorter, I'm sorry, this was a little bit longer than this, and I fixed it up here, but in reality, now that I'm thinking about it, for the front, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off that 1/4 that I added, because this is a 1/4 inch shorter, this is a 1/4 inch longer, and that's about the amount of ease on a half scale I'd want to make this section bigger than this section to have more ease in the princess seam. So you know how when you're working with princess seam, I'm going to go ahead and mark, let's say, 2 inches down let's do it on here first. So I'm going to measure from here, because really the fullest part of this pattern is actually right here, right? That's the fullest part. So I'm going to go 2 inches above that, and I'm going to make a notch. So right here, and then I'm going to go 2 inches below to right here. Okay, so here to here, this can be wider. So I want to put the extra, this 1/4 inch extra that I added here is going to fit in here to make more room. Okay, so again, I'm going to go like this, and actually I'm going to get rid of this right here, and I'm going to come back down, and I'm going to measure from the original like this. I'm going to walk this down until I get to that top notch that I drew, which is right here. Okay, so that's, oh, actually, if I had used my wheel here, then I would know it's right here. And then I'm going to go up from the bottom, same thing. And I'm going to walk myself, up to the lower notch, which is right here. Okay, so here is the lower notch. So now you can see I've got my notches. So doing it this way, what I should have now is a 1/4 inch difference, meaning this should measure a 1/4 inch more than this. And I'm just going to do a quick measurement this way. So if I start on the 3, this goes to 7. So there's 4 inches there. So this should be 3 3/4 here. And you can see that it is 1, 2, 3 3/4. Okay, so this is a 1/4 inch longer than this. I'm going to ease this into this. Now remember, oh, let me move this out of a second. All right, so just remember that this is a half scale pattern. So when I put my seat up a little higher. Okay, so this is a half scale pattern. So when I blow it up 200%, there's going to be a 1/2 inch of ease on that side front to make more ease for a larger cup size. So that's why I wanted to make sure that was happening. Now let's go back down to the table again. I'm going to bring this back down. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm literally going to just add seam allowances here. I'm going to add 1/2 inch seam allowances. Yeah, I'm going to add 1/2 inch, even though it's half scale. So I'm just going to, and then of course, this is where I'm going to have to add paper in a few places because I don't have enough paper. Okay, so basically, let me just keep going here. Okay, so see how I'm just adding a 1/2 inch. I'm going to add a 1/2 inch here. add a 1/2 inch here. Okay, and I'm going to add a 1/2 inch at the waist as well. Alright, so here we have, put another piece of tape there. Okay, and then I can cut this out. Okay, so there's my side front piece, and then I'm going to just add seam allowances to here. Now this is going to be cut on fold, you know, my center front, so I'm not going to be adding a seam there, so I'm just going to add my 1/2 inch here. Okay, now this is where I feel like you guys are watching paint dry, so I'm sorry this is not an exciting step. I think I'm going to need a little paper here. So remember, I'm not including that little change I made. And you know what? I'm not going to add seam allowance to the neckline. And the reason why I'm not adding seam allowance to the neckline is because I am going to be making a strapless foundation. So I really do not need a seam allowance there. So I'm just going to cut out everything else. That was not an accurate cutout. Okay, I don't need this extra paper here. All right, so there's my side front. I just need to put a little piece of Scotch tape back here. Okay, all right, so there are my front pieces. Now I'm just going to quickly do my back pieces. And of course, I'm just going to need a little paper right here, so I'm just going to use this little extra right here. So here's my 1/2 inch here. 1/2 inch here. And then 1/2 inch here. here is my side back. Alright, so there is a payoff for watching me do this because you're going to see how accurate it is when I sew it up and put it back on my half-scale dotty. So I'm going to show you how it fits once I get it sewn together. And you can see this is going to be a really quick sewing job. It's got very few seams. And again, remember, I'm not doing the neckline, so I'm just going to come up like that. And I don't need to do, well, I am going to add a seam allowance at center back because obviously you need a zipper. Like this. Alright, so now I'm going to cut this out, and then the next step is I'm going to cut them out of fabric, and we're going to see how this fits on my ditto form, my half scale. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it over to the printer, and I'm going to scale it up to 100%, and I'm going to send it to the printer. And so next week you'll be able to see the full size muslin. Alright, so I have all my pieces, and now I'm just going to get a piece of muslin, which I think I'm just going to have to get a little piece here. I'll just need a little bit, this much. Right. Alright. Okay, so now we are going to cut these out, and the way we're going to cut them out officially, hey Kay, welcome. It's okay that you're late. You actually missed the paint, the portion of this where I felt like you were watching paint dry. I was showing how to true up and then add seam allowances to these pieces. So these are the pieces for a bodice sloper for my daughter's wedding dress. Okay, so you'll notice here that I have the armhole and the neckline. I'm going to create a full bodice sloper, and then I'm going to design the, you know, the neckline, the strapless neckline off of that after I get the whole thing to fit properly. So I'm going to fold some fabric here so I can lay my, oh perfect, I didn't make it long enough. Well, it's okay, I have a longer piece right here. Okay, so I'm going to fold this way. Okay, and I'm going to lay my center front on the fold like this, because remember, we don't want to have a seam in the center front. So basically what I'm going to do, and actually let me make this really economical, or let's make this really frugal fabric using here, like this. Okay, and then I'm going to use my Happy Sew Tights to hold it right on the fold. Like this. And then I'm going to cut this out. the only notch or the only mark I'm going to transfer is that going to be this line right here. All right, so there's my center front. And then I think I'm gonna let me cut out this one next over here. This is my center back. So again, I'm going to cut it out right on the fold. Well, it's not going to be on the fold, but I'm going to put it close to the fold. So I'm going to cut this one out. I need a new blade, and I forgot to change it, sorry. This blade has been on here, though, for months. I love these replacement blades that I have. Alright, so there's my center back. Now I just have to cut out two of the other pieces, and I think I can get the side back out of this scrap right here. Okay, so I did that. And then I'm going to just use this little piece here to cut out the side front. Like this. And then we will prep them and we will sew them together, and then you can see how they fit on my half scale dottie. And then next week I will show you how this fits on my full size dottie after I blow it up 200%. Because when you're working in half scale, in order to get full scale, you have to blow it up 200%. All right. You know what I just realized? I also don't need a seam allowance here, so I'm going to cut off the seam allowance in the armhole because there's not going to be an armhole. It's going to be a strapless, so I'm just trying to keep, you know, and again, let me mark. This and this. Oh, and I have to transfer this, this, and this. Okay, so I've got all those marked. And then, let me just mark Oh, let me take off. I'm just going to take off this allowance too. Do not need that. And again, I'm just going to mark, across here. This will allow me to just do this. Here are my two center fronts. I'm just going to mark here and here. Okay. And I've got this marked. And I've got to mark this. I'm just transferring all the marks. I just have two more pieces here. So again, here is my center back. So again, I'm just going to mark, not that, this. I can mark this. And this. And then finally my center front. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to mark this. I'm going to mark this. And I'm going to mark this. So then I can, open this up, and I can go straight across here, like that, and then I can also mark my notches on my side front. Alright, so now I've got all the pieces marked, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew them together so we can see how it fits my dotty. Kay says, I need to go back and watch the last week's session. I don't remember how you started the pattern, or did you drop these from scratch? All right, so what I did, Kay, if you look in the, okay, so I mentioned this in the beginning. What I did was, during Cool Tools this week, I shared how to use a half-scale ruler. I draped the pieces onto my half-scale dotty. Now, I didn't show doing that in this tutorial, but I have shown how to drape a cover on here in other tutorials. So I used the draping method to get the pattern pieces, and you can see that I used a Sharpie marker to draw my princess seam line in my armhole. You see how I've got the princess seam in gray, and then in the back, the princess seam over here. All right, so that's how I got it. And then I showed how to true up the pieces using this lovely half-scale ruler that I got from Seams and Laser Beams at PatternCon, which is kind of cool. Oh, and totally off topic, remember, if you were following with me when I was working on this summer, I didn't like this because I felt like it poofed into a tent. Well, the more I let it hang on my ditto form, the closer to the body this is falling now, because, Bias stretches and stretches vertically. So I'm beginning to like this top, so I may actually finish the hem. So there. That's a little aside. So let me get my sewing machine now. We're going to sew this together, and then I'm going to pop it on my ditto form. Okay. So you can consider this next section of my FabFit Friday as a tutorial on how to sew princess style lines, because remember, we had that little bit of ease in the, well, it's a good thing I'm out of water. Give that little bit of ease in the princess scene. So we have to do some gathering stitches first. Once I figure out how to plug my machine in. Here it is, okay. Okay. Alright, so let me get this so you can see it. Alright, and I don't want to lose any of my pattern pieces, so I'm going to pin those together. And I'm going to pin them together with my original muslin pieces, just in case I need that. Because I never like to get rid of my work until I'm done. So I've got this all pinned together so I don't lose it. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do, I think I'm noticing that my my face camera is not, it keeps clicking off. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to figure out what's happening with that. But for now, let me just get this in a situation where I can show you how I'm going to sew. Okay, Victoria, thanks for coming, and thanks for catching the replay. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my side front pieces, and I'm going to run 2 rows of gathering stitches so I can gather up that extra 1/4 inch, right? So I'm going to put my stitch length on like, sorry. I'm going to put my stitch length on like 4-ish for gathering. And I'm going to do one really close to the edge, like 1/4 inch away. And when I get to the bottom notch, I'm not going to use my thread snips. I'm going to pull it out. Helen, Lenny said that he emailed you today. He reached out to you today. If you didn't, check your email. And if you didn't get it, I will go down and make sure, because he told me that he contacted you this morning or just a little bit ago. So if he did not, I will make sure he will. So I forwarded your email to him, and he is going to help you with that. So check your email, and please let me know if you didn't get an email from him, because I will double check with him as well. Okay. All right. Oh, and if anyone's wondering, Helen's asking me about, we have a live meetup on the last Sunday of the month for my J Stern Designs YouTube Insider Club. This is a wonderful way to get really easy access to all of my content, because it's downloadable, and it's also organized by topic, and it's also comes with a get together on the last Sunday of the month, and we have a lot of fun. So if anyone's interested in that, there is a link to join in the description of this video. Okay. All right, let me just, okay, so I'm going to sew, now I'm going to sew about a 1/2 inch away from that first row of stitching. So when I go to sew the pieces together, I can sew between the stitching. And when I get to the second notch, this lower notch, again, I'm going to pull this out. And I'm going to use my scissors to cut it. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to do about a 1/4. And then I'm going to do a 1/2 inch away. All right, Helen, thank you. And actually, he's very excited to help you because you're his favorite. All right. And then I'm going to get over here. All right, so now I've got my stitches done so I can fit this in. So the next step is going to be to pin the side front, matching up the notches. So my two notches here and here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin them. So I'm going to pin the top one here, like this. And I'm going to pin the bottom one like this. And you can see how there's more room on the side front, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the gathering stitches and I'm going to gently gather up the side front until it matches. And I'm just going to evenly distribute the gathers. So see how I can just very neatly fit this in? So this is how you would sew a full-size princess pattern. So see how you're gathering up. See how you're gathering it up. Now see how it matches like that? And I'm also matching the horizontal balance line at where I drew it on the pattern pieces. So I've matched that notch and I've got this gathered. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this together at 1/2 inch, and I'm going to put my stitch length back at 3. Oops. Ugh, I hate it when my needle becomes unthreaded. Okay. All right, so we're just gonna sew this at 1/2 inch. And you notice I put the gathers underneath because it will help, the feed dogs will help, you know, gather those in, or, you know, sew those in. Sometimes I like to keep track of them if it was the final garment, but for a muslin, I'm just going to put them on the bottom. All right, and I'm just going to sew this all the way to the top. Oh, good. That's good. I'm glad you got it. He told me he did it, so I was pretty sure, but you know, you never know. You never know with husbands, but all right. So now let me go over here. See how this looks? So see how you can see this slight gathers here? That'll press out. You know, that will press out. And then I'm basically gonna do what I did to the first side. I'm going to pin the notches together above and below the area I have to gather, like this, and like this. Once I get these pieces together, the back goes together in like 2 seconds because there's no gathering, so it'll be quick. All right, and then again, I'm going to take my 2 rows of stitching and I'm going to pull them together to make them fit the side front. So as you can see, I'm going to line up the notches here. Put a pin there. Okay, and then I've got that nice, so now I can sew this together. Okay, we'll start at the top this time. I'm going to make sure these match. Okay, and then when I get to here, I'm going to take the pin out. I'm going to just do that. Okay, so I've got my front sewn together. See? It's just a plain, princess seam front. Now I'm just going to quickly sew my back together. So let's lay out the pieces because I am not going to sew the center back seam. I'm just going to sew the side pieces to the center back pieces here, and this will be really easy because obviously there's no gathering. It'll be nice and quick. I'm just going to put 3 pins, one in the middle, one near the bottom, and then actually I guess 4 pins. Get that right there. And then I'm going to do the other side over here. Again, I'm aligning up that across back horizontal balance line that I had on my ditto form. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew this, and then I'm going to sew side seams together, and we can put it on. It'll be very exciting. So again, we're just sewing this at a 1/2 inch. All right, let's do this one. All right, so now all I have left to do is sew the little side seams. But before I sew the side seams, I am going to get my little pressing surface here. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm not going to use my pressing surface. I'm just going to use my let me just make this a little brighter for you so you can see what I'm doing here. what I'm going to do is I am going to press these seams. First I'm going to just press them, give them a little steam here. Then I'm going to press them open. And having the little curve here will help, because there is a little shaping, right? Okay. Give that a little press there. And I'm gonna press this. First I'm gonna press it flat, then I'm gonna press it open. All right, my horizontal balance lines are not horizontal, so I must not have marked those accurately. I'm going to have to check that. All right, so I'm going to remove the gathering stitches on the inside of each here, and then I'm going to see if I can smooth out these gathers. So again, I'm just going to give it a little steam here, and then we're going to see if I can press these open. And actually, this is where I actually need to find on here a curve. Right, so it's like I want to find the curve on here that kind of matches the shape of the seam. So when I press it like this, it'll look nice. Let's see if I'm like this. All right. And then right here, I'm just going to get in here and I'm just going to see, I'm finding the spot that matches the curve basically here. Give that a little press like that. And then let me just get the other side. So the end of my thing right here is where I can get the nice shape. So again, I'm just pressing these open for now. And I can get the below and above pretty easy. Like this. All right, so now I've got that all set. Now I'm just going to finish sewing it together. And so I guess first what I'm going to do is let's do the shoulder seams first. So we've got shoulder seams, and I'm matching the princess seam line. Should match at the shoulder, because that's the way I drafted it. Like that. Let's get this one on there. All right, now let's sew these. Half inch. Okay, so this one. And here. Okay. All right, now the last thing I have to do is sew the side seams, which is take 1 second. And then we're going to try this on Dottie half scale ditto form. All right, let's get this last side seam sewn. Excellent. All right, so now we're going to try it and we're going to see. I'm going to move this up a little bit. And I'm also going to move my chin out of the way here. Okay. All right. And now the proof is going to be, well, not the proof, but what I'm going to do now, let me see what's going to be the best view here. I think if I go back to face camera, I'm going to put this right here, like this, so you can see. And then I'm just going to pop this on. Oh, I got to move all my pins out of the way. All right, and then we're just going to pop this on. And I'm going to pin it closed at a 1/2 inch. You just pin this, at a 1/2 inch. Okay. All right. Okay, so I've got it pinned shut. And you see that it's going to need, oh, I've got a pin under there. It's going to need a little work. All right, so here are the things I'm going to fine tune, and I'm going to work on this not today because I have another appointment coming up that I need to get to, but basically what I want to do here is I want to really get this fitted in here. So I probably should put it on inside out, and I'm going to pin out all this extra. And actually what I can do, actually, you know what, let me just quickly put this on inside out. I should have put it on inside out, I know this. And this way I can pin out all the extra and resew it. Let me just put it on like this. And then this will allow me to fit it on easier. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to pin out whatever extra I need to get in here to really make it a contoured fit, because remember, this is going to be strapless, so I'm going to be working on that. And then what I'll do is next week I will show you how I fine-tuned the fit of this. You know, and I'm not going to go crazy though, because again, I'm making this for my daughter and this is me. So I want to get this a little bit closer fitting because I know she's smaller than me a little bit. But I also want to get it as close to this as possible, because, why am I saying that? I may have time to make my own, why am I stuck? I mean, I may have enough time to make my own Mother of the Bride dress too. So, surprise, this can be a double muslin. Once I get this to fit me, I can trace a copy off and I can get it to fit her. So if I want to create a dress for myself, this is going to be the start of my pattern too. I'm going to hit two birds with one stone because we're so close in shape here. So here is how it's fitting. You can see it does need a little work. I have to pull it in a little bit in here. And I knew that was going to happen because it was really hard for me to drape this contour in here, like to have it go under the bust. Because normally I don't fit things like that. Normally, you know, it'll skim over that contour a little bit. So I'm going to work on fine-tuning this to make it a next to the skin sloper, and then I'll share with you next week how it's turning out. So we've got part 2, or step 2 of the wedding dress started here. And again, it could be the start of my Mother of the Bride dress as well. So there you are. So if you have any questions about draping a princess seam, or if you have questions about you know, working with a half-scale dress form, please let me know, and you know, I'll help you. I want you to know I am a little behind in my comments answering people's questions on my channel now, because I was literally embroidering non-stop all of those fall tea flags. So I will be catching up on all my questions as well during the next week. But anyway, thank you guys for watching me today. And I just want to show you something. So my good friend Sarah Me published her Fittopedia fitting book for bodice and sleeve. So I'm going to be reviewing this book next week on on Monday for Cool Tools. So if you're interested in finding out what I think about this Fittopia book, join me Monday for Cool Tools. I'm going to be sharing this. So this is sort of a teaser for next week. Super exciting. It's got a lot of information in it. I love this layout of this book. So I'll be sharing all my thoughts and different things that are in this book on Monday. So that's what I'll be doing next week. And I also have some really interesting fit tips coming up. So thank you guys for following along with me. If you want to join us in my YouTube club, that is a fun group. We meet the last Sunday of every month, so it's this Sunday coming up. Well, not this Sunday, but the next Sunday, the last Sunday of the month. Oh no, it is this Sunday. It's this Sunday, because next week is September. So if you want to join us for our live meetup at 5 o'clock Daylight Savings Time, Eastern Daylight Savings Time this week, there's a link in the description to join that as well. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'm going to try to float in my pool before we close it, because the water's starting to get nippy, and I want to finish my beach read that I started in Maine when I was on my weekend with the girls. So that's what I'm going to try to fit that in this weekend. All right, you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next week. And thanks for watching.